Hello again, and welcome to Survive and Thrive, your media viability podcast. For this edition, we're once again talking about how media outlets deal with the daily mission of doing just that. Surviving, yes, but also thriving. I'm Janelle Dumalaon. If you run a media outlet, you're no stranger to the operational and editorial challenges that come with producing quality journalism. From financing to reaching audiences, and in some cases, reporting from extreme circumstances, like war. Our next guest has a deep understanding of what it means to carry on with one's purpose in the face of danger, trauma, and uncertainty. I'd like to welcome Viktor Pichuhin of Nakypilo, a media organization based in Kharkiv, Ukraine. Hello, Viktor.
Hello, pleasure to meet you.
Now, in a moment, we will go deep into what it means to run a wartime media operation like yours, Viktor. But first, we have a short round of introductory questions for you. Again, we're looking for quick answers, so let's keep it rolling. Viktor, what is your business model in a catchphrase?
Well, I would say run, film, produce.
Run, field, produce. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Viktor, we always ask this, and in your case, so we understand that it may be a question that weighs particularly heavy, especially at this time, but it is one of the questions that we always ask. Did you ever manage a moment where everything seemed lost?
Well, yes, I think there were such moments, but we are always planning for the worst. And that's why these moments, they were not surprise for us, because our last office where we were located, it was completely destroyed by the rockets, but we rented another office, and all our equipment was already in this new office, so we were prepared for this in some way. So yeah.
You prepare for the worst and eventually the moment passes.
Yes.
Next question. What would you need to thrive in the future? Apart, of course, from the war stopping.
Well, I would say I would say that actually making media as a business is a big challenge, especially in Ukraine. Not even during war times, but in general, it's a big challenge because the media market in Ukraine, I would say it is small if we are talking about advertising and like not so much advertisers are on the market, and for media that has like clear policy and is honest with its audience, it's really hard to gain the advertisers, I would say.
What you would need to thrive in the future? Advertisers, and the way to make your business as a media outlet viable. So that's what we're talking about today. And so thank you for that short introductory round of answers. Now, as we said earlier, you're based in Kharkiv, and that's only several dozen kilometers away from the Russian border in eastern Ukraine. What's it like working where you are?
Well, I would say that before the full-scale invasion, we were not war reporters, or we were not so much going into the front lines. But now I would say that each one member of our team became the war reporter, and I would say we got used to it, like everything's danger, the lack of sleep every day. So I think now we can say it's daily routine.
To you now, you're the development director of Nakypilo, and perhaps you can tell us, what does Nakypilo mean and how did that name come about?
That's an interesting story behind it. We started 10 years ago. Our media outlet was founded as a response to a certain information vacuum that was in Kharkiv after the revolution of dignity. That time in 2014 in Kharkiv, I would say we had too little amount of independent media, and all of big TV channels, radio stations, they were affiliated with some politicians or business, and colleagues of mine, they decided to fill this vacuum, and they decided to start a media. And as a response to the feeling that people had during the revolution of dignity, they decided to name it Nakypilo. In Ukrainian, Nakypilo means boiled up or fed up with something like the water is boiling in the kettle. So yeah, and as a response to the feeling that people are fed up and boiled up with corruption, with other things, our media called Nakypilo.
So, if I understand correctly, in Nakypilo, it is a response to the information vacuum. It is a response to, I guess, what felt like an intolerable situation that has caused a sort of a boiling over in resentment. And Nakypilo is a name that reflects that frustration and that anger and that desire for things to change. Now, earlier you mentioned 2014, a seminal date, of course, the date when you started. It was also the year, of course, that Crimea was annexed. You've been live as an outlet as long as Ukraine and Russia have been at war. How did your coverage change as the war expanded from the annexation of Crimea to a full-scale invasion?
We started as a media that wanted to help our city and our country to change themselves and to be more comfortable and lawful places to live. But obviously, after the new stage of a war and after 21st of February 2022, we started to focus on the survival of our country, or the survival of Kharkiv as a Ukrainian city, and we still are writing and making videos about human rights, about some corruption things, etc., etc. But obviously, war became our main topic.
So I suppose the way I sort of hear you, you came from a place of wanting to improve the area you found yourself in, Kharkiv. You came from wanting Kharkiv to improve to making sure that Kharkiv survived. It's quite a seminal shift, and I can imagine that the work that accompanies that every day can be quite can be quite heavy, can be quite a big responsibility to shoulder. Can you perhaps give us an example of work that you've done? You've mentioned some of the topics that you touch on, like corruption and the reality of living in a war. But can you name a specific example of a work that you've done that you feel is particularly representative of Nakypilo, and give us a story behind the story?
The normal people reaction when they hear explosions, people run from the explosions, away from the explosions. But my colleagues, they are running towards the explosions to look what is going on there. And first thing I would like to mention about is the daily work of our colleagues that are filming the Russian war crimes and Russian strikes on civilian infrastructure, civilian buildings. This morning, exactly, Russians striked the civilian buildings in the center of the city, and my colleagues, day after day, they are filming this. A part of that, I would say that very important was that we were among the first journalists who reported from liberated cities in Kharkiv region in 2022. And it was really important to show the world what is really going on in the cities, about how people are living there, because people, when these cities and villages, they were liberated, there was no cell network, no internet. They were separated from the outer world for like 9 months or so, and it was really important to show how these people live, how they survive occupation, and how they still are pro-Ukrainian and Ukrainian cities and villages. And also there is actually an interesting story about this, because when we were in the liberated Izium, it's a big city nearby Kharkiv, I actually was not only reporting about the city, but I was also reporting to the people on the streets who live there about the latest news, what was going on in Ukraine, because they didn't have any news for, like, I say at least 6 months or so, because they didn't have any internet or cell network. And I was really going on through the city and telling to people that yes, Kharkiv is still Ukrainian city. It wasn't occupied. Yes, we defended Kiev, and we it also still under control of Ukraine. And it was really important work to for me to tell these people the latest news we have. Also, I would like to mention that we operate not only as a media, but we also have a press center to which people can come and tell about their problems or about their vision of how city should be developing, or how I don't know, some changes need to be made in something, in legislation or something like that. And we also these people, they can handle press conferences, and we also invite journalists from other media so that they can write about these ideas or initiatives. And last year in our press center was a big press conference about plans of the city to build an office center in the city park. And after this press conference, people, just regular people who watched this press conference and who were not agreeing with the plans of the city, they started a protest and they defended the park from this office building built in. And the city council, after the protests, city council redecided, and they built this office building in some other space that more suitable than the park.
The impression I'm getting is that what has become very important to you, or perhaps what has just organically happened because of the circumstances, is the direct communication with your audiences. It's like you've talked about how on the ground you find yourself directly explaining to the people there what is happening elsewhere. You've talked about being a forum via this press center where press conferences can be held and civil society comes and other journalists come, and that leads to direct impact on the street. So given this role that you find yourself in of being the one to directly explain to audiences what is happening in Kharkiv and the surrounding areas, what is it that you think your audiences have come to expect from you in these times?
There is a lot of propaganda and manipulations and disinformation, especially in Kharkiv region because of its closeness to the border. And I would say that Russia propaganda became quite sophisticated, and they are not only directly lying like they were doing it for last 10 years, but they also are finding the gaps in communication of some city officials or country officials, state officials, and they are trying to fill these gaps in communication of authorities with people. They try to fill these gaps with some lies or misinformation. And we, from our side, are also trying to fill these gaps, but with explanation what is going on. We are trying to look on some sensitive topics that our audience is worried about, and we are trying to fill this communications gap to explain what is going on, why things are going in the way they are going. I would give an example. After the heavy rocket shelling of our power plants in Kharkiv, we have large power cuts in the region, and we are still having them here. And there are some schedules that are issued by the officials, and in these schedules you can look and see which time you will have the electricity, which time you will not have the electricity. And there is a huge problem that sometimes the officials, they cannot strictly be on this schedule because of many reasons. And people, obviously, they are complaining about it. Like they are saying, on this schedule, in this schedule says that we will not have electricity for 3 hours, but it's now, I don't know, 5 hours. I'm still without electricity, and they are angry, and they are obviously telling that what is going on, why. And Russians, from what we saw, Russians are trying to fill this communication gap. They're saying like, Ukraine is selling the electricity to the Europe, and you don't have the electricity because Ukraine is selling it to the European Union countries, etc., yada, yada, yada. And that's why we saw this communication gap, and that's why we spoke to the people who are working in the companies that supply electricity, and we wrote an explainer about why the electricity cannot be directly by the schedule. And that's what I'm talking about. That's we are trying to be. That's what the audience is expecting us to do. It's the audience is expecting us to answer the questions they maybe even didn't think of still.
I can understand how the service element to being a media organization becomes much more important when the job also entails explaining to people why they're experiencing what they're experiencing in a very in a very difficult time in extreme circumstances such as war. I also wanted to ask, you touched on it a bit. You have to deal with propaganda. You have to deal with the operational challenges of things like regular power cuts. But what would you say your chief challenges are as a media outlet operating in wartime Ukraine or in Kharkiv?
I would say that our main challenge is people. People, I'm talking about the people who are working in the our media outlet, because we are unfortunately we are understaffed because of and it's really hard to hire a good professional now, because a lot of good journalists are now enlisted and joined the army, obviously, and it's really hard to find the good professional to hire in the team. And it's also a big challenge for the existing team, because people are getting tired. I would say they're not getting tired, they're getting exhausted, because my colleagues, sometimes they're working like 24 hours without sleep, and probably even without proper eat, because like something is happening, and also the team, especially those one who work in the field, they are quite traumatized because of the war, because they saw I would say horrible things, and it's really, really hard to work without having someone to change, and having them the ability to properly rest for, I don't know, for a few weeks at least. So yeah, people are the main challenge, unfortunately.
Now, when we talk about your team, we're talking about some 40 people. And you were also saying that, of course, considering the scale of the task involved, 40 people is you have 40 people who are overstretched and, as you say, stressed and traumatized and exhausted. How do you and your colleagues take care of yourselves?
Well, first thing, and I think it's the most important thing, we are taking care of each other. We see if someone is stressed, someone is traumatized, depressed, and we are trying to care about him or her. Also, we do have professional help. We work with a team of psychologists who are professional psychologists that are aiming specifically for the media workers, and we are we have sessions with them, and every member of the staff can book a session with a psychologist. And also we are trying to find some time for some board games or something like that, to just to reset the mind a bit, because it's impossible to be in the war and in all these processes 24 hours ago and keep your sanity with you. So yeah, sometimes we're just playing board games, playing I don't know, some Monopoly things. Yeah.
Is that the team favorite? Is it Monopoly?
Well, I would say it was, but people are not playing with me anymore Monopoly, because I'm really good at it, and people don't like me playing Monopoly with them.
Well, not
But
only
yeah,
did you develop skills as a war reporter, you're also a very skilled Monopoly board player that
yes.
nobody wants to play with. I suppose there's a silver lining in everything. But I guess We talked about now the emotional stress that you and your team face in your coverage, but of course there is also the very real possibility, and in some cases reality, of physical harm coming to you and your teammates. Do you have protocols to keep safe?
Yes, we do have such protocols, and unfortunately, the colleague of mine in the January, the colleague of mine, Anna Myasnikova, she was injured by the piece of the rocket that fall down nearby the office in the center of Kharkiv. Her leg was injured quite bad, but she because she is highly trained in first aid. She has like perfect first aid skills. She managed to make a bandage on her wound and to evacuate to the nearest shelter. She also by our protocols, she informed about her wound, our editor-in-chief, and she informed me, and I was like, I would say in 10 minutes or so, I was there on the place that was shelled. I found her, and we put her in the ambulance. So yeah, we have a lot of security protocols, starting from the trainings. Each one of member of our team knows the basics of first aid, knows the basics of stopping the bleed, and everyone in our team is obliged to have his or her first aid kit every single moment whenever they go, if they are on work or if they are at some personal time. I myself, I do have, like, when we are speaking, I have my 2 first aid kits with me. So, and also our colleagues that are working in dangerous environment, it could be like place of the drone shelling or rocket shelling, or it could be just some near frontline territories. They need to they are obliged to wear the bulletproof vests and bulletproof helmets. They are obliged to have first aid kits. They are clearly instructed on what to do, how to do things, how to evacuate, etc., etc. And obviously, the editor-in-chief, our editor-in-chief, she always know where each team member is now and what she or he is working on now. And I would say that the security protocols, they saved my life too, because 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was filming the casualties after the drone strike in the presidential building in Kharkiv, and Russians launched and striked the same place with another drone. And because of like clear security protocols and because of the training, I managed to not be injured and to like being safe and be able to speak to you today. So yeah, we have, I would say, we have maybe 20 sheets of security protocols in our newsroom.
I'm also very glad that you're okay and you're able to speak to us today. I mean, this is the thing with security protocols, right? You hope you have them, and because you have them as a precaution, they will keep you safe. But I am sorry to hear that you have had to also employ them because they've become necessary, and you have had colleagues that have gotten hurt. And of course, I wish you and all of your colleagues like every safety. Of course, Nakypilo is not alone as a media organization in Ukraine, and I was just wondering, since the war started, how has the full-fledged invasion impacted the regional media landscape in Ukraine?
Well, I would say that being an independent media and small regional independent media, it became harder. Obviously, because the advertising market, I would say it died after the full-scale invasion, and it started to be born again very slowly. It's starting to be born again. So the regional media, most of the regional media I know, they are they are dependent on grant support, and because there are like not so much sources of other income, unfortunately. Now, also, as I said, all the media in the nearby border territories or nearby frontline territories, they, without their will, became war reporters, and they are covering what is going on. So yeah, that's what changed. And the situation with the staff, with the people that I mentioned before, the problem with the lack of people, it's quite similar in the other media too. But I would say that without the small regional media, the life would be much more difficult and much worse, especially for the local residents, because big TV channels and big radio stations, they don't know much about the context of what's going on in the cities and small villages, and only the small regional media, they can provide, speak to these people and give the voice to the people in the small regional villages.
You spoke about it somewhat, that the advertising market collapsed and it's only starting to come back to life again, that you have financed your operation with a mixture of grants. As we keep saying throughout this episode, like it is a very special time to be a media outlet in Ukraine. What do you think it means to be viable in the face of these circumstances?
I would say the first thing, and the first thing is to be viable is to preserve your team, and to, in every way, in physical way, in psychological way, in way of giving them proper salaries so they can live live normally, and they can not thinking about I don't know, some other work or something like that. And I would say that this is like the first key to be viable this time. The next thing is despite I said that market is almost dead and trying to rise, but I would say that next thing about being viable is trying to look to some other sources of income, not only depend on grant support, because donors cannot support you forever, and it's obvious. And that's why we are developing our production branch. We are developing our advertising branch. That's why we are now working on some community support and some donations from our audience. So yeah, we are actively. That's why we are selling our even merchandise with some T-shirts and some other things to have different sources of income, because it really helps with viability. And if we if we for some reason don't get some grant support, I know that we will. I don't know if we will survive, obviously, but I know that we would be in better situations than other media that only depending on grants. And I would say the third maybe tool for being more viable is an open communication with our audience. We're trying to not to talk about these people as an audience, about abstract numbers in I don't know, in Google Analytics or something like that. But we are trying to build a community about around our media and around the values we have, and it works. I think 5 years ago we have a problem. We have a gap in grant support. We have 3 months without any grant support, and we talked to our to members of our team, and we said sorry guys, we don't have any money. Can we sort it out? Can you leave a bit while we are trying to find some small funding for this? And say our team said yes, we understand everything, but we also needed to pay the rent for our office, and we wrote to our audience and our community that we have this problem. Can you support us? And they actually donated the money that we needed for these 3 months. They donated it, I would say, in less than in a week, and we were covered for the rent. So and that's we are building a community, and we're helping these people with explaining something, etc., etc. And these people, this community helps us if we face some challenges. So team, other sources of income, and build a community, but not think about the people as an audience.
I see. Not merely to think about them as abstract figures on a spreadsheet. I wanted to talk about sort of community and working with the environment around you. Nakypilo, of course, collaborates very closely with Kharkiv civil society. What is that collaboration, and how does it look like?
Our motto is the voice of Ukrainian Kharkiv, and we are actively trying to highlight the people, groups of people, individual activists who are trying to change something that that will impact the city. We sometimes it starts in our press center when some activists goes to us and say, "Hey, I have this important topic. I have this big ecological problem with the rivers in Kharkiv. Can we hold a press conference here?" And we obviously we say yes. you can have. And please, there is a spot. We invite the journalists and the topic, and the people and journalists and media are starting talking about this topic. Sometimes people are just coming to us and saying, "Hey, we want to change something. What can we do about it?" Like, I would say 8 years ago, there was a huge problem in not only in Kharkiv but in Ukraine, that the relatives of the some person who got into the intensive care, the relatives cannot visit this person in the intensive care because of the some legislation restrictions. And some activists came to us, and they like talked about this problem, and they said, "Hey, can we do something about it?" And we actually we filmed 5 stories, 3 with the people whose relatives were in intensive care and died in intensive care, and these relatives, even before that, they can't see each other and like say the last goodbye. And also the 2 stories we made were from the other side, from the doctor's side, where the doctors explained why actually it's possible to let people go into the intensive care. And we published these videos. People started to share in the stories about their experience about intensive care. And I would say that it took part in. I would say that it also influenced that the law was changed, I think, in a few months after that.
I suppose it takes all of society to keep Kharkiv, doesn't it? And the face, public service in a situation like this just necessarily has to have many faces. And I think this all also kind of dovetails in with what you were saying about making sure that your audience isn't just, like numbers on a page as such, but like real people that you are trying to serve. I was just wondering, however, everyone is living through the same difficult reality. Do you see news fatigue in your audience? Do people share the exhaustion that you have about the ongoing war, and how do you address that?
Well, if we are talking about news fatigue, it depends on which news you are talking about, because obviously people are getting tired of breaking news, because if it's everyday breaking news, then it's not breaking anymore, it's just regular news. But yeah, 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 but we are trying to communicate with our audience in a slightly different way, and we are not trying to, like, we are not trying to shock them, and we are not trying to manipulate their attention to, like, to get more views. We are trying to communicate with them in more healthy way. So because we need the readers and listeners with um, I would say we need sane readers and listeners, and we are trying to calm them more. So I would say that our audience from our news, they don't get so much news fatigue. About the exhaustion, well, yes, obviously people are tired, because it's the 3rd year already of the full-scale war going on in our country. But also, I would say that people are angry, because, like, people are angry, and they are even despite all the exhaustion and all the tiredness, people are angry and they are doing everything to protect their city and their country. Even they are heavily tired.
I'm just interested in what you mean when you say you try to keep them calm. I guess I could imagine that that means you try not to sensationalize the news, you try to be respectful, you try to keep voyeuristic elements perhaps to a minimum. But what is it that you mean when you say you want a sane readership, and to achieve that you have to try and keep them calm?
Yeah, we are not trying to shock them. We have a strict policy about, I don't know, about photographs and visual image of the dead people, and we are not like we are blurring or not showing the dead people or injured people unless they give us the direct and clear permission to do it. We are not trying to, a lot of, unfortunately, Ukrainian media, they start their news with, I don't know, sensation. You cannot believe what happened. Something really scary happened. We don't do this to our audience. We are trying very broad, simple communication. So after our listener or viewer, after he or she reads our news, we we're trying to achieve that he or she wouldn't have any questions about the situation after he or she reads the news. So we're trying to look at the situation at the from all the angles and trying to explain everything that needs to be explained. We're trying to respond to every possible questions that could be in the reader mind. So yeah, and also we are working with psychologists. She on weekly basis she writes small articles and she records a podcast about how to keep yourself sane, how to care about your mental health, etc., etc. And also, we are trying to find some beautiful things, and we are trying to capture them and to give them to our audience. Like every day, we are publishing the weather forecast for the day, and we illustrate this weather forecast with some photograph of the cat or dog or just nature, and people love these pictures. They are really adoring, and they are waiting for like new photo of dog and cat. So yeah, even during the horrible war, we're trying to find something for our readers to smile at and smile kindly, I would say.
You know, we've been talking a lot. We talked a lot in the beginning about the meaning of Nakypilo and how it means boiling over, frustration at the status quo, and resentment. But in the course of our conversation, like I've come to see a lot of hope and determination and the desire to provide relief in your media outlet. And that's caused me to wonder, what is your vision for Nakypilo in a post-war Ukraine?
That's a good question. Thank you. I would say um, we would like to be a media that help to heal, that helps country to heal in a physical way, in the way of rebuilding, in the way of renovating, and also to heal the minds of our audience, and not only our audience, because after the war we would need to be looking for our veterans who were even more traumatized than just the civilian people, and they saw a lot of very horrible things, and we need to change our country and city to so it would be a good place for them to live. And I think we will be aiming at helping the country and the city and people to heal and to live in comfortable, good place.
This is the thing with the future. It always comes, and it always needs to be taken care of. Now, our time with you, Viktor, is coming to a close. But before we let you go, we wanted to get from you just quickly, if you can, the 3 best practice tips that you can share with us that you've learned in your time as the development director of Nakypilo.
First one is, I think the best practice is to be honest with your staff, to be honest and playing with your audience you are working for, to be honest with your partners in business, because honesty and openness always leads to quite good results. The second one is plan for the worst. Be the pessimist, but not doom and gloom pessimist. Just think about the worst scenario, worst realistic scenario of some situation, and not only think about it, but do something about it and prepare for it. And even if this the worst outcome wouldn't happen, and you will be ready for anything. It worked for us before the 24th of February, because we were quite good prepared for the full-scale invasion, and it's still working for us, because for every issue we have a backup plan. So backup plans are quite important and crucial. And the third one is to find not only operate in the field you are operating now, but try and gain new fields and new ways of doing something interesting, because we started as an online media and a printed newspaper, and now we also have a radio station, and we have online and FM radio station. We have a big educational center where every year a lot of journalists from all over Ukraine are studying. And also we have a press center, which is kind of community center too, because we are not only holding press conferences there, but we started to make master classes here, and we are trying to find new fields to operate in, and we are trying to diversificate our activities more and more and more. So that's actually also a key to viability, I would say.
So let's see if I got this all correctly. So the first best practice tip is be honest with staff and your audience, and that will yield the best outcomes. To plan for the worst scenario, always have backup plans. And the third is to diversify your fields of operation. And this is something that you've learned having started as an online print medium and expanding into radio, into journalism education, and into the press center where you collaborate with civil society. Now, we have to leave it there. So I would like to thank you, Viktor Pichuhin of Nakypilo. And thank you, dear listeners. I appreciate you joining us today. Do check out the show notes for more. Till next time on Survive and Thrive.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Survive and Thrive, the Media Viability Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and make sure to hit like so that other listeners can find us as well. For feedback, send an email to dw-academy.surviveandthrive@dw.com. You can find all the information in the show notes.